Today, we're going to talk about a blind spot that just about every high achiever has and exactly what to do once you spot it.
Life is beautiful.
So when we started working together as entrepreneurs, I was a measly 19 years old, a college dropout, and a very naive little boy.
You were a teenager.
I really was. And I had no idea that you had undiagnosed ADD and dyslexia.
Yeah, neither did I.
Yeah, obviously. So there would be a lot of very frustrating moments where we would work together. For example, I remember back in the good old days, we decided we're going to do a daily vlog where every day we were going to make a movie out of our day. And then it would be my job to not only film the entire thing, but then spend my entire evening editing the entire thing because you claimed that it didn't fit your skills and your skill set.
Hmm.
And it just felt really unfair, and I would get really frustrated, and it would create a lot of resentment in me. And it was not a great time. Finally, you realized you had some neurodiversity and your brain just did not work the same way that mine did. And you went and actually got diagnosed. You went to a psychiatrist and they diagnosed you with ADD and dyslexia. And I started to get an understanding as the years went on about what that really means and the strengths that come with ADD and dyslexia, because there are strengths that go along with the quote unquote weaknesses, right? And the neurodiversity that you have. And over the years, we've learned to really start to leverage each other's strengths and weaknesses a lot better. And I've come to understand that just because your mind is different doesn't make you less effective as a co-founder with me. And I know that I've come full circle because the other day I was really bogged down in the details and I was trying to create a plan, and the plan was not going according to what I wanted it to do.
Mhm.
And I asked you a very powerful but simple question. I said, Nick, can you really help me dyslexify this? I came up with my own word, and it basically just showed that I had come full circle where I fully see your dyslexia as a strength that I want to tap into and that I can use.
That was a beautiful moment.
It was a beautiful moment.
It was.
It took 10 years, but I finally have come full circle.
That really touched me when you asked for my help, man. And you asked for help in something that can be perceived as a weakness to me as a strength. And that's something that a story that's really helped me with this whole diagnosis of dyslexia is I read something called the dyslexic advantage, which really got me to reframe that whole concept of a weakness into a strength. And, our sister was just telling us that our nephew was diagnosed with dyslexia. He got diagnosed a lot earlier than me, thank God. So he can get some work on how to basically utilize it to the best of his ability. But she was saying that NASA saves about 20% of their jobs for people that have dyslexia for this exact reason. Because NASA is very, data driven, right? Like they got the splashdown of Artemis 2 in the water down to the exact second. So that's how data driven they are. But they also know how important it is to have people think about the big picture.
Yeah. And this episode is not about dyslexia. This episode is really about being able to ask for help, because as a high achiever, as those data-driven people who are, you can be a high achiever even as a dyslexic. It doesn't matter. It's a blind spot that all high achievers have, which is that I'm going to go about this myself. And we were almost in a way taught to never ask for help, to be completely self-reliant. And I feel like we are leaving so much growth on the table by not asking for help more often, because you can only go so far alone.
Yeah. I mean, we're definitely stronger together. And another clear example of this, we use a lot of basketball analogies, I'm realizing, but Michael Jordan, he's the epitome of individual greatness, right? But he kept losing in the playoffs. And Phil Jackson then introduced a triangle offense to him where it forced him to pass the ball and rely on his teammates. And then, it followed 6 championships later.
Yeah. There was something done called the lone wolf bias, a very recent 2025 massive study that spanned 12 countries from New York City to the Amazon rainforest.
Wow.
And it found that when facing tough decisions, humans everywhere default to trusting themselves over seeking outside advice, even when advice would objectively help them.
Hmm.
So it's not even just high achievers, it's just like human nature to not want to ask for help.
Wow.
I think it's just like our egos just like have a hard time wanting help from someone else because it just means that like we are not fully capable of doing it ourselves. But it's such a stupid cognitive bias because, like I said, you're leaving so much growth on the table. And I found some cool stories besides the basketball analogy. So, do you know about like how Jeff Bezos approaches his meetings at Amazon?
I do, and he stole this from the real OG, Nelson Mandela.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. So tell us about Nelson Mandela then, if he's the real
Well,
OG.
Nelson Mandela always prided himself on being the last one to speak in a meeting.
Mm.
And Jeff Bezos basically took that into the business world because he knew that as the CEO, if he spoke first, then everyone around him would just agree with what he said.
Yeah.
So by waiting to the end to share his opinion, it allowed everyone to really share what was on their mind without being influenced and being yes men to him.
Yeah. And then do you know the story about Brad Pitt?
No.
So Brad Pitt takes this to the movie set.
Okay.
He's talked about how he intentionally asks the grip, the gaffer, and the production assistant, which are like the lowest of the totem pole on a movie set, what they think of a scene before he offers his take.
Wow.
And he said something like, the person holding the boom mic might see something I can't from inside the scene.
Hmm.
Think about that. I've been on a movie set before, so I've seen like the way that things operate there.
Yeah.
The star actor, especially a guy like fucking Brad Pitt, is literally like God on set. Like he has his own thing. Like whatever this guy wants, he's like people are bowing down to him on
Yeah.
set. For him in this God mode to ask the people like at the bottom, like the peasants of the town in the movie set, basically, not to put them down, but that's really how it feels when you're on there. For their advice, that's a guy who's wise.
Yeah.
That's a guy who's willing to
That humbleness goes a long way.
humility.
Yeah. That humility goes a long way.
Yeah. So, what's the call to action, Nick?
I don't know. You tell me.
The call to action for today is to take something that you're struggling with right now, a challenge at work, or even anything that you feel like you're struggling with in life, and ask someone who you really respect and admire for their advice on it.
Mm.
Just ask one person, what do you think?
Mm.
What do you think about, here's what I'm struggling with. You know, I've been unhappy, or I'm struggling with my career. I'm not sure what choice to make. Here's my situation. Do you have any advice for me? Just ask it. And it doesn't mean you have to take it, but just see what happens if you ask someone who you admire what their opinion is.
Yeah.
And build that rep, because it's like a muscle, right? The more you ask for help, the more comfortable you become with asking for help, and you won't leave all this growth on the table, because you never know when that boom mic perspective is the one perspective you need that could change your life.
I that's beautiful. And the hidden thing that comes from this is actually the connection to that person that you ask for help from actually grows stronger.
Ben Franklin effect.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. We love you.
Peace.